think you can actually teach people how to trade?
Yes and no. So yes, you can teach the fundamental principles, and if you stick to it, it works out. No, because it's like, can you teach people to set up a business? You know, the basic business principles, like, you know, find the place that has the biggest sort of traffic in terms of people, find the product that people want, open up shop, sell it to them. So if it's so simple, why doesn't everybody set up a business and make money? Why do people fail? Because there's all these intricacies in terms of, you know, you have to control your employees and you have to look at cash flow, et cetera, et cetera. And it's the same with a fund, with trading. You can teach the principles, but at every point in time, your emotions and misjudgments come in, and then you just go all over the place, and it goes boom. And the classic example for that is you'll find people that consistently make money. So they start out with a nest egg and they make money, they stick to the rules, or maybe they've had a good run, and all of a sudden their P&L goes off a cliff. Now the question is not so much why did it go off a cliff, because everybody makes mistakes and can reflect. The question is, do they get back up again to continue and learn from the mistakes? And I think that's true for almost everything you do in life. Do you get back up again? And I think the majority of people, going back to security and certainty, no. I think the first time a lot of people fall over, they stay flat on the ground and don't get back up. And I think that's probably the biggest hurdle to getting successful at trading.
So you were a hedge fund manager. How good was your track record?
August 2010 was the time when I started trading, finished December 31st, 2015. So the total return over that period was 73% on a Sharpe ratio of 2. So that's slightly more technical terminology, a Sharpe ratio. Sharpe ratio tries to understand, for every dollar risked, how much do I make back? So 2 is quite good, and very happy with that. And so to that extent, I feel actually very privileged to be in that position. However, there's a caveat to that, which says that if you trade the markets for long enough, at some point you will blow up. So yes, I had a very good 4-year streak. That doesn't mean, as they say, that past performance is a good indicator of future performance. But what I do feel is that you give me any market and any amount of money, I'll always be able to extract value out of it. Not so much because I've got a magic system, but ultimately because I think I've got the right temperament, or acquired the right temperament in the last 16 years to be able to do that.
Which do you find more difficult, teaching or managing people's money when you were doing hedge funds?
Managing people's money, and going back to the previous answer, because when you teach, it is an equal kind of relationship. You give and you receive energy from the person who wants to learn. Teaching is actually a very two-way relationship, and you also have the big fortune of being able to, on the flip of a coin, choose or not choose somebody if you want to work with them or not. And it's interesting, teaching, I think, is you work with somebody. You don't just flood them with information, you work with somebody. Whereas in a fund, it is a one-way relationship. The client demands, and you have to provide the service, and you live under a lot of stress, because interestingly enough, what are you doing? You're managing people's money, and money has a very interesting kind of meaning in our society. You know, people see it as a means of living their life. It's somehow their lifeblood. You know, they put their sweat, they work on it. You have expressions such as money doesn't grow on trees, and everybody's out to get you, and you see this all over the place in the newspapers. So there's a very different mentality when you take somebody's money, and that person becomes almost defensive. And regardless of what they say in the beginning about, I'm going to give you this money and everything's fine, we're going to sign a contract, so much emotion gets attached to it that to disentangle that from the job becomes very, very difficult. And so therefore, I think managing somebody else's money, at least if you are in that state of mind of taking on fiduciary responsibility, is difficult. And so what you see with mutual funds, interestingly enough, whose job it is to outperform the markets, it's such a big industry that, as they say, you don't get fired for buying IBM, even if IBM goes down. They more or less find safety and security and numbers to kind of overcome that issue of having to manage other people's money with responsibility.
With the potential to make millions staying in the hedge fund industry, how come you decided to go into teaching? What was it? What was that moment?
Well, teaching at the moment is a side venture for me. So I still manage my own money and do other projects as well. So as I said, the reason for going into teaching was to connect, and I've made some wonderful connections with people who are actually very motivated and themselves have developed very interesting ideas, and some of them with a keen interest in setting up their own fund. As I also said, the reason for terminating this fund was primarily a business decision for me as well in terms of the way the entire structure went. And that doesn't mean and doesn't preclude that I'm interested in setting it up again at some point in the future. So certainly the longer now it's been, it's been 2 years since I've been out of that fund, I am starting to get the bug again of setting up something new. And this time around, having learned the mistakes from the past, it's actually very exciting of thinking of setting something up again.